Tonight, there may be sexual predators sleeping in the home next door to your children because of a loophole in the sex offender registration law. So Fox 45 investigated, and now Liza Danver is getting answers and solutions for you.
Blaine Hoffman and his family have been living in this Kettering neighborhood for more than a decade. Quiet, family friendly, and until the spring of this year, sex offender free.
And that's how we found out. The sheriff's officer was parked in front of our house updating the registration address, and otherwise we wouldn't have known.
A sex offender moved in with his girlfriend right across the street.
For a father and a husband, it's very concerning.
Records show the offender registered his girlfriend's address as his primary residence, but only at first. Following pressure from the neighborhood watch for him to move out, he did, well, sort of. He registered a different primary address with the sheriff's office. But Blaine says the guy was still spending a whole lot of time at his girlfriend's house, now considered by authorities as a secondary address, which means it's not searchable online.
The detective said that as long as he notifies the sheriff's department that that is an address that he may be found at, there's nothing they can really do.
The secondary addresses are not published online. However, if a person has a concern, all they have to do is contact us at the sheriff's office.
The sheriff's office says sex offenders can have secondary addresses in any neighborhood. In fact, they're not even required to give deputies those secondary addresses. However, it is highly encouraged.
If they're there 3 or more nights a week in a row, we're going to want that as a secondary address.
But in order for you to find out if a sex offender has a secondary address in your neighborhood, you'll have to call the sheriff's office. A secondary address will not come up in the sex offender registry online search.
If they have a concern about their safety, they definitely need to call us so that we can follow up on it and maybe find out if that's a place where that person hasn't told us about or that person doesn't need to be.
I get that they have cousins and friends that they could be hanging out with, but we're talking about people that are staying weeks on end and, for all intents and purposes, residing there. That's alarming.
In an attempt to prevent offenders from skirting the law, sheriff's deputies periodically check up on them, even inspecting the offender's home to make sure they have clothes and toiletries inside, basically searching for evidence that the registered primary address is legit. However, law enforcement admit they need the public's help and encourage you to give them a call if you suspect an offender is lying about where he or she lives. In Montgomery County, Liza Danver, Fox 45 News.
We have set up a link to the sex offender registry on our website, fox45now.com. And again, make sure to call the sheriff to find out if an offender has a registered secondary address in your neighborhood.